The heavy steel door to the Strategic Operations Center shut behind me, sealing me inside with a suffocating silence. The air was cold, a manufactured chill that had everything to do with the 50 pairs of eyes that turned toward me in a single, coordinated movement. It was the synchronized motion of a pack of predators detecting a wounded animal. Insidious whispers slithered like venom. "That's her, General Thorne's daughter, the one who blew up the Chimera prototype." Each phrase was a poison dart. My training kicked in, spine straight, chin up, but beneath the uniform, I felt naked, pinned like a specimen. Every solitary click of my regulation heels echoed in the cavernous room, the sound of walking on shattered glass, and then I saw him. My father, General Marcus Thorne, stood like a monolith of military authority. He was performing, and the opening act was my humiliation. He deliberately let me stand there, marinating in their judgment, for exactly 15 seconds. I counted each one. Then, with a slow, theatrical turn, his steely blue eyes raked over me, assessing a broken piece of equipment. A cold, cruel smirk stretched his lips, and then he laughed. It wasn't a sound of amusement, it was a weapon, a booming, concussive blast of pure contempt engineered to strip me bare. When the last echo died, a horrifying silence descended. His voice, a low growl, hammered every word into my soul. "Who allowed this failure in here?" He didn't use my name or my rank. He used a noun. Beside him, Chief Engineer Julian Caldwell, his golden boy, wore a triumphant smirk. My world collapsed. Just as the darkness at the edge of my vision began to close in, the doors hissed open again. A small woman in a simple pantsuit stepped through. She was Dr. Helena Vance, and she walked with an undeniable aura of authority that commanded the room more effectively than my father's roar. She stopped a foot in front of him. "Actually, General," she said, her voice quiet but cutting through the tension like a razor, "I authorized the project's original designer to be here." She held his gaze. "Your incident," she continued with icy precision, "is now my problem, and I don't tolerate circuses." Part 2, the original betrayal. My father's derisive laughter threw me back 15 years, to the grand, hallowed hall at West Point. At 17, I stood on a brightly lit stage, behind a heavy oak lectern, having just won first place in the National Science and Engineering Fair. My project, a miniaturized inertial guidance system built over a year of sleepless nights, was groundbreaking. The raw, electric thrill of creation was a feeling so pure it made my hands tremble. Then my father was invited to the stage. His voice, trained to command thousands, boomed with practiced authority. He spoke of teamwork and leadership, and then he gestured to my younger brother, Leo, in the audience. "Eliza's success today," my father announced with false sincerity, "is a testament to the inspirational leadership of my son, Leo." It was Leo who brought the team together. The hall erupted in applause, for a lie. I stood clutching the heavy trophy, feeling utterly invisible. He hadn't just diminished my work. He had erased me, stealing my intellectual triumph and gifting it to the son he truly valued. Later, Leo clapped me on the shoulder, grinning. "Great job, sis. We did it." He didn't even realize the injustice. That night, my uncle, a brilliant senior engineer from NASA, found me in my room. He didn't offer platitudes. He walked to the desk where my hand-drawn schematics were laid out and placed his large, calloused hand over them in a gesture of profound respect. "They can applaud the story, Eliza," he said, his voice a low, comforting rumble. "Stories can be changed. But this machine, it only obeys the truth. And you are the one who created that truth." He leaned in. "Never forget that you're an engine. Whisperer. You hear things other people can't." Part 3, the hunt for truth. After the humiliation in the war room, the gaslighting began. First, my father called my private line, his voice no longer a roar but a patronizing silk. "Eliza, I hear you're causing some friction. You need to remember your place. You're just a consultant here." He was redefining my boundaries. "My place," I replied, my voice cold as steel, "is as the person who designed this system. He dropped the pretense. I refined it, he said, his voice hard. Your original design was too risky. Don't make this worse with your professional arrogance. Moments. After I hung up, my mother called, launching into preemptive, hysterical tears. Eliza, what are you doing? Your father is under so much stress. How can you threaten to destroy everything because of your own selfishness? She weaponized family honor to demand my silence. In that moment, a wire stretch taut for 3 decades finally snapped. The family's honor was destroyed 3 years ago when not a single person in it stood up for the truth, I said, my voice terrifyingly steady. Not this time. The anger that followed didn't fade, it cooled into a hard, clear purpose. I was an investigator now. Drawing on old, deeply buried skills from my time in technical intelligence, I slipped into the base's network, hunting in the digital boneyard of forgotten archives. After hours of stalking through a silent digital forest, I found it. Buried. In an obscurely labeled subfolder was a log showing a single administrative override executed by General Marcus Thorne. He had personally stripped out my 6-stage safety protocol and replaced it with a brutally simple one, at 2:23 a.m., just 24 hours before the prototype exploded. The blood froze in my veins. This was deliberate sabotage. Digging deeper, I found the document that shattered my last vestiges of denial, a scanned image of my own schematic, with a handwritten note from my father. Positioning altered per recommendation of Chief Engineer Caldwell. It was a calculated, fabricated lie. He had manufactured a false paper trail to frame his own protégé. As I stared at the screen, I found one last item, a social bulletin announcing a celebratory cocktail party he hosted on the ashes of my career. In that moment, a radio playing in the corner crackled with the voice of Breen Brown. It is not the critic who counts. The words washed over me. I was in the arena. I had been struck down. But I would not stay on the ground. I systematically copied every file onto an encrypted flash drive. You chose the wrong arena, General, I whispered to my reflection. Now you're going to face the gladiator you created. My father, a brilliant tactician, turned the emergency simulation review ordered by Dr. Vance into what he thought was an inescapable trap. He framed it as a demonstration of the project's resilience, inviting influential defense journalists to observe. It was my public execution. He commanded them to run the current configuration, his compromised one. On the main screen, the engine roared to virtual life, then amber warnings flickered, numbers turned red, and at the 92-second mark, a massive crimson alert flashed, catastrophic event imminent. Caldwell slammed the emergency stop. As you can see, he explained smoothly to the press, we are dealing with certain inherent instabilities in its original design. It was then that Dr. Vance spoke, her calm voice cutting like a laser. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Now, we will run the simulation again, this time using Major Keaton's original configuration. Caldwell smirked as he plugged in my drive. Let's see your ghost dance, he whispered. The simulation began again, this time with even more violence. Alarms shrieked. Red lights flashed. This was the failure they had counted on. Pause simulation, I commanded, my voice clear and steady. I walked to the main control interface. With a series of swift, precise movements, I manually recalibrated 3 core parameters. I didn't look at the data streams, I closed my eyes. For a split second, feeling the engine's rhythm in my mind, listening to its language. I was the engine whisperer. Continue simulation. The entire room held its breath. The piercing shriek of the alarms began to subside. The frantic red lights turned to steady amber, then blinked into a calm, reassuring green. The engine's tortured groan smoothed into a powerful, clean, perfectly balanced hum. It completed the entire 300-second cycle without a single error, exceeding original efficiency projections by 7%. The only sound in the vast, silent room was the hum of the simulated engine. The journalists lowered their cameras, their expressions shifting from predatory curiosity to dawning realization. Caldwell stood frozen, his face drained of color. And my father, General Marcus Thorne, stood as still as a statue, his face a horrifying mask of disbelief and rage. The emperor was naked, his carefully constructed lies evaporated by the perfect, silent hum of the truth. My father was suspended, his 40-year career in ashes. When my brother Leo called, he didn't ask if I was okay. "What the hell did you do?" he screamed. "You ruined him. You ruined Dad. Do you have any idea how this will affect my career?" I listened to his tirade, then calmly said, "You never once asked how I felt, Leo. Not 3 years ago. Not now. Goodbye." I ended the call and blocked his number, severing the last frayed thread to the illusion of family. A few days later, his sedan pulled up to my garage. In civilian clothes, he looked smaller, older, a stooped, gray-faced old man. He began to rationalize. "I just wanted to protect you, Eliza." I held up a grease-stained hand. "Don't," I said, my voice quiet but unyielding. "Don't insult my intelligence anymore." Slowly, I wiped my hand on a rag and twisted the heavy gold West Point ring from my finger. It was the last chain that bound me to his world. I stepped forward and placed it into his open palm. "I'm giving this back to you," I said, my voice steady and clear. "I don't need your legacy. I'm going to build my own from the pieces you tried to break." I turned my back, walked into my garage, and pulled the heavy roll-up door down with a loud, final clang. Freedom wasn't an explosion of joy, but a quiet, vast emptiness I had to learn to fill with my own voice. Today, Garage 17 is no longer a solitary refuge. It's the home of the Uncle David Project, a non-profit, tuition-free technical school for female veterans. I teach them to listen, to feel, to trust their hands. A few months ago, a letter arrived. From Dr. Vance. My rank of major was reinstated, and she offered me the chance to lead a new R&D division. The validation was important, but it no longer defined me. This afternoon, I watched a young Marine veteran struggling with a transmission. I handed her my uncle's old wrench. "A good engineer doesn't force a machine," I said softly. "They persuade it. Try listening." In her eyes, I saw understanding light up. That is my legacy. Not a weapon, but the passing of knowledge. As the sun sets, the desert wind whispers around the open doors, and for the first time, it doesn't sound like a lonely cry. It sounds like a symphony. My worth was never up for debate, but I had to walk through fire to realize it. Your truth has its own undeniable power. Don't ever let anyone else write your story. If tales of resilience resonate with you, subscribe for more and share your own moment of strength in the comments below. Your voice deserves to be heard.